The vaporization of 8-year-old Billy Mason by Altair, the Kibali enforcer, ignited a firestorm that would engulf the galaxy. On the colony world of New Terra, Colonel John Mason watched in horror as his son disintegrated before his eyes, punished for the crime of simply existing. The Galactic Council, a conglomerate of advanced alien races, had decreed that humans had violated breeding restrictions for new species. Billy's execution was their answer. Earth's response was swift and unprecedented. The United Earth government revealed a secret that had been kept for over a century: the Lazarus Armada. Hidden beneath the ocean floors, thousands of advanced warships lay in wait, their technology far surpassing anything humanity had publicly displayed. Admiral Sarah Boyd, commander of this formidable fleet, began mobilization procedures, preparing to unleash hell upon the Galactic Council. As news of Billy's death spread across Earth and its colonies, chaos erupted. Major cities became hotbeds of riots, with humans demanding vengeance against the alien races that had sanctioned this atrocity. The government declared a state of emergency, initiating mass conscription for the impending war. Humanity's rage, bottled up for years under the Council's thumb, exploded into a unified cry for retribution. On New Terra, Colonel Mason channeled his grief into action. He began organizing a resistance movement among the human colonists, planning strikes against Kibali installations, and gathering crucial intelligence on Council weaknesses. Their fight would be the spark that ignited a much larger conflagration. The Galactic Council, underestimating the human response, ordered a quarantine of the Sol system. Kibali warships took position at key transit points, led by the newly promoted Altair, the very enforcer responsible for Billy's execution. Their containment strategy, however, had a fatal flaw. Several human stealth ships equipped with technology from the Lazarus Armada slipped past the blockade. These vessels carried vital information to the off-world colonies, ensuring that humanity's response would be coordinated and devastating. As Earth's hidden fleet prepared for war, the Galactic Council remained oblivious to the true extent of human military capabilities. They believed their technologically superior forces could easily suppress any human rebellion. This hubris would prove to be their undoing. The stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. Humanity, long considered a minor player in galactic affairs, was about to unleash a force that had been brewing for generations. The Lazarus Armada, born from a century of secret development and fueled by the rage of a species pushed too far, stood ready to challenge the Galactic Council's dominion. In the coming days, the name Billy Mason would become a battle cry, a symbol of human defiance against alien oppression. The galaxy would soon learn that in killing a human child, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Earth's ancient fleet, hidden for so long, was now primed to bring the fight to every corner of the cosmos, seeking justice for Billy and asserting humanity's place among the stars. As the news of Billy Mason's execution spread like wildfire across Earth and its colonies, the United Earth government sprang into action. In a secure underground bunker beneath Geneva, Admiral Sarah Boyd stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, her face illuminated by the soft blue glow. "Activate Protocol Sleeper," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. With those words, hundreds of human agents embedded within alien civilizations received their long-awaited signal. Years of meticulous planning and patience were about to pay off. On the Kibali homeworld of Vexthor, a seemingly unremarkable dock worker named Jared Simmons excused himself from his shift. He made his way to a maintenance tunnel, where he retrieved a hidden cache of advanced Earth technology. Within hours, the primary power grid of the Kibali capital went dark, plunging the city into chaos. Similar scenes played out across Council space. On Eridani Prime, a human posing as a low-level bureaucrat uploaded a virus into the Central Defense Network. Praxian shipyards ground to a halt as saboteurs disguised as technicians corrupted vital production systems. Back on New Terra, Colonel John Mason led a daring raid on a Kibali outpost. Under the cover of night, his team of resistance fighters moved silently through the alien compound. Mason signaled to his second-in-command, a grizzled veteran named Rodriguez. "On my mark," Mason whispered, his eyes fixed on the Kabali guards patrolling the perimeter. Seconds later, stun grenades sailed through the air, disorienting the alien sentries. Mason's team surged forward, their footsteps muffled by the sounds of chaos. Within minutes, they had secured the facility. "Sir, you need to see this," Rodriguez called out, gesturing to a bank of alien computers. Mason's eyes widened as he took in the treasure trove of Kabali technology before him. "Get our tech experts in here. We need to crack these systems and establish a secure link with Earth." As the resistance movement gained ground on New Terra, Earth itself was a hive of activity. In a state-of-the-art laboratory in Cambridge, Dr. Elias Hawthorne peered into a microscope, studying Kabali cellular structures. "Eureka!" he exclaimed, startling his research team. "Their immune response. It's hypersensitive to certain polysaccharides. We can use this." Dr. Hawthorne's discovery quickly made its way to UEG leadership. Within hours, Project Achilles was greenlit, with top scientists working around the clock to develop a non-lethal bioweapon that could incapacitate Kabali forces without causing permanent harm. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, massive hangar doors began to open. Admiral Boyd stood on the bridge of the UES Nemesis, watching as hundreds of advanced warships rose from their watery berths. "All ships, report status," she ordered, her voice echoing through the command network. One by one, the captains of the Lazarus Armada confirmed their readiness. These vessels, born from centuries of reverse-engineered alien technology, represented humanity's best hope for survival. Boyd's eyes fixed on the Nemesis's most formidable weapon, the gravity lance. This experimental device, capable of warping space-time itself, could potentially turn the tide of any battle. As Earth prepared for war, the Galactic Council convened in their grand chamber on the neutral world of Centauri Beta. Representatives from a dozen advanced species argued heatedly about the human threat. "We must crush them now before they become a greater nuisance," growled Zarvox, the Praxian delegate. The architect, a shimmering holographic construct, materialized in the center of the chamber. Its voice, a harmonious blend of tones, silenced the squabbling aliens. Analysis complete. Recommendation: deploy the hammer of Exor against Earth. Probability of success: 98.7%. The chamber erupted in cheers of approval, but one voice remained silent. Lyra, a young Eridani diplomat, felt a knot of dread form in her stomach. As the others filed out, she slipped away to a private communication booth. With trembling hands, she activated a highly encrypted channel. "This is Stardust," she whispered. "The Council plans to use the Hammer of Zor against Earth. You must warn them." Light years away, aboard the UES Thunderchild, Captain Marcus Graves received Lyra's message. His face grim, he relayed the intel to Admiral Boyd. "Understood, Captain." Boyd responded, her voice tight. "Initiate Operation Shattered Sky. Take out that Kabali blockade and clear a path for our fleet." Graves turned to his crew, tenacity etched on his face. "Battle stations, prepare for lightspeed jump." The Thunderchild and its escort ships erupted from hyperspace in the midst of the Kabali blockade. Caught off guard, the alien vessels scrambled to respond. "All ships, fire at will," Graves commanded. The space around Earth's orbit lit up with energy weapons and explosions. Human ships, faster and more maneuverable than their Kabali counterparts, darted between enemy vessels, unleashing devastating barrages. On the bridge of his flagship, Altair, the Kabali enforcer, snarled in frustration. Impossible! How did they develop such technology? As the battle raged, Admiral Boyd's voice echoed across all frequencies. "This is Admiral Sarah Boyd of the United Earth Government. To all colonies and oppressed species under Council rule, the time has come to break your chains. Stand with us against tyranny." Her words reached the red sands of Mars, where Governor Alexandra Volkov stood before the Martian Parliament. "For too long, we have bowed to the Council's will. No more. Mars stands with Earth." The Martian shipyards, hidden beneath the planet's surface, roared to life. Conveyor belts churned out fighters and support ships, ready to join the Lazarus Armada in its crusade against the Council. As news of Earth's victories spread, other species saw their chance for freedom. On the silicon plains of Zarn Prime, the crystalline inhabitants vibrated with excitement. Their leader, a multifaceted being named Quartz, initiated contact with human diplomats. For eons, we have suffered under the Council's rule. Quartz's thoughts resonated through the translator. We offer our unique abilities to your cause in exchange for our liberation. The galaxy stood on the brink of all-out war. Humanity, once dismissed as a primitive species, now led a coalition of the oppressed against the Galactic Council. As both sides marshaled their forces and unveiled weapons of unimaginable power, the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. Admiral Boyd stared out at the stars from the bridge of the Nemesis, knowing that the true test of humanity's purpose was yet to come. The Hammer of Zor loomed as a terrifying threat, but Earth would not go down without a fight. The battle for the future of the galaxy had only just begun. Admiral Sarah Boyd's eyes narrowed as she studied the holographic display of Sarek Prime, the Kabali homeworld. The UES Nemesis and its accompanying fleet had slipped past the planet's outer defenses, their advanced cloaking technology rendering them invisible to Kabali sensors. All ships, maintain radio silence, Boyd ordered through the neural link connecting the fleet's commanders. Prepare to deploy Project Achilles on my mark. In the laboratory aboard the Nemesis, Dr. Elias Hawthorne ran final diagnostics on the bioweapon delivery drones. His fingers flew across the control panel, making minute adjustments to ensure maximum dispersal efficiency. Admiral, Hawthorne's voice came through the comm, the drones are primed and ready. Boyd took a deep breath. Launch. Dozens of sleek black drones detached from the underbelly of the human ships, streaking towards the Kabali planet below. As they entered the atmosphere, they scattered, each targeting a different population center. On the surface of Sarek Prime, life continued as normal. Kabali citizens went about their daily routines, unaware of the invisible threat descending upon them. In the capital city of Vexra, a young Kabali named Zalthar was overseeing a shipment of minerals when he felt the first symptoms. His limbs grew heavy and his vision blurred. Around him, other Kabali began to stumble and collapse. Panic spread through the streets as the effects of Project Achilles took hold. Within hours, the majority of the Kabali population was incapacitated. Their military, caught off guard, could offer no resistance as the human fleet decloaked and established a beachhead on the planet's surface. Colonel John Mason stood at the head of his dropship, addressing his troops. Remember your training. We're here to secure key locations, not to inflict unnecessary casualties. Let's move. The doors hissed open, and Mason's forces poured out onto Kabali soil. They moved swiftly through the alien streets, their path cleared by the effects of the bioweapon. Mason's team made straight for the central government complex, a towering structure of crystalline spires and twisting metal. As they approached the building's entrance, a familiar figure stumbled out. Mason's eyes widened in recognition. "Altair," he growled, raising his weapon. The Kabali enforcer, weakened by the bioweapon, could barely stand. He looked up at Mason with unfocused eyes. "Human," Altair rasped, "what have you done to us?" Mason gestured to his second-in-command. "Secure him. Admiral Boyd will want to have a word with our friend here." As Altair was taken into custody, Mason's team pushed deeper into the complex. They encountered minimal resistance, quickly securing the building and the vital communication hub within. "I Colonel Mason to Admiral Boyd," he reported. "We've secured the primary objectives. The Kabali capital is under our control." Aboard the Nemesis, Boyd allowed herself a small smile. "Excellent work, Colonel. Prepare for the next phase." Light years away on the silicon plains of Zarn Prime, another rebellion was taking shape. Shardmind, a multifaceted crystalline being, led a group of freedom fighters towards a council outpost. Remember, Shardmind's thoughts resonated with his compatriots. Our ability to interface with technology is our greatest weapon. Use it wisely. The Zarn rebels swarmed the outpost, their crystalline bodies shimmering in the alien sunlight. As they made contact with the facility's systems, the Council's defenses began to crumble. Alarms blared and then fell silent as the Tsarn took control. Within minutes, the outpost was theirs. Similar scenes played out across the sector as the Tsarn turned the Council's own technology against them. Back on Earth, deep beneath the planet's crust, engineers worked feverishly to bring the Terminus Protocol online. Massive generators hummed to life, drawing power from the planet's core. In the control room, Chief Engineer Valentina Petrova monitored the energy readings with growing concern. "We're at 60% capacity," she reported to the UEG representatives, "but the power drain is immense. We can't maintain this indefinitely." Governor Alexandra Volkov's hologram flickered into existence. "How long can we sustain the shield?" Petrova ran the calculations. "At current power levels, maybe 72 hours. After that, we risk permanent damage to the planet's core." Volkov's expression hardened. "Keep it running as long as you can. We need every advantage we can get." As Earth prepared its defenses, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The chamber was filled with a cacophony of angry voices and accusations. The architect's holographic form materialized, silencing the squabbling delegates. Analysis complete. Recommendation: alter strategy. Target human off-world colonies. Probability of success: 76.4%. Zandrath, the gaseous nebulite counselor, floated forward. "I will lead this operation. We will strike at Mars first, crippling their shipyards and cutting off Earth's support." As the Council prepared their counterattack, Admiral Boyd turned her attention to their captured prisoner. Altair sat in the interrogation room aboard the Nemesis, his once imposing form diminished by the effects of the bioweapon. Boyd entered, her face a mask of controlled emotion. "You took a child from his father," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "Now you're going to tell me everything you know about the Council's defenses." Hours passed as Boyd employed advanced psychological techniques, slowly breaking down Altair's resistance. Finally, the Cabali enforcer's drive crumbled. "There is a place," he gasped, "called the Nexus. It holds the combined knowledge of all Council species. If you could access it—" Boyd's eyes gleamed with possibility. As she left the interrogation room, she was met by Dr. Hawthorne. "Admiral," the scientist said, excitement evident in his voice, "I've made a breakthrough. Using what we've learned about Cabali physiology, I've developed a universal translator. We can now understand any known alien language instantly." Boyd nodded, her mind racing with the implications. "Mass produce it immediately. Distribute it to all our forces." As humanity consolidated its gains and prepared for the next phase of the conflict, the galaxy held its breath. The balance of power was shifting, and the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. On Mars, in the depths of space and across alien worlds, the stage was set for battles that would determine the future of the galaxy. The holodisplay flickered to life on the bridge of the UES Nemesis, casting an eerie red glow across Admiral Sarah Boyd's face. Her eyes narrowed as she studied the data streaming in from Earth's long-range sensors. "That Counselor Zandrath is leading a massive fleet towards Mars," she announced to her officers. "Alert Governor Volkov immediately." Across the vast expanse of space on the red planet's surface, Governor Alexandra Volkov received the urgent transmission. She wasted no time, her fingers flying across the control panel to activate Mars's planetary defense systems. "This is Governor Volkov to all Martian defense forces." Her voice rang out through the comm channels. "Prepare for imminent attack. I repeat, prepare for imminent attack." The Martian shipyards, hidden beneath the planet's rusty surface, burst into frenzied activity. Sleek, angular vessels designed for the treacherous dance of asteroid field combat poured out from hidden hangars, taking up defensive positions around the planet. Admiral Boyd's voice crackled through the secure channel. "Governor, I'm dispatching a portion of the Lazarus Armada to reinforce your position. Captain Graves and the UES Thunderchild are en route." Volkov nodded, her eyebrows furrowed with willpower. "Understood, Admiral. We'll hold the line." As the Council forces approached, Captain Marcus Graves stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, fresh from liberating the Titan mining colony. His crew worked with practiced efficiency, readying the ship for the coming battle. "Helm, set course for Mars," Graves ordered, "maximum speed." The Thunderchild and its task force surged forward, engines blazing as they raced to join the Martian defense. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Elias Hawthorne hunched over his workstation, his eyes bloodshot from hours of intense focus. He scrolled through the data extracted from Altair, the captured Cabali enforcer, when something caught his eye. "Computer, isolate energy signature Alpha 93, he commanded. The screen zoomed in on a unique energy pattern emanating from Altair's neural implant. Hawthorne's eyes widened as he cross-referenced the signature with other captured Council data. "My God," he whispered, "it's present in all high-ranking Council officials." His fingers flew across the keyboard, running simulations and probability models. A grin spread across his face as the implications became clear. "Admiral Boyd," he called through the comm, "I think I've found a way to track and potentially disable Council leadership." Millions of kilometers away on Sarek Prime, Colonel John Mason led his team through the winding corridors of a hidden Cabali research facility. The air was thick with the acrid smell of chemicals and the hum of advanced machinery. "Fan out," Mason ordered. "Secure any data you can find." As his team spread through the complex, Mason approached a central terminal. He inserted a decryption device, and the alien symbols on the screen morphed into readable text. "What the hell?" he muttered, scrolling through the files. They were experimenting on humans and other species. The data revealed a sinister project. The Cabali had been attempting to create hybrid soldiers with enhanced abilities. Mason's face hardened as he absorbed the implications. "Package it all up," he barked to his team. "Earth needs to see this." Back on the UES Nemesis, Admiral Boyd received an encrypted transmission. Her eyes narrowed as she recognized the source. Lyra, the Eridani diplomat who had first warned them of the Council's plans. The message contained detailed schematics and information about the Hammer of Exor, including potential vulnerabilities. Boyd immediately assembled a team of Earth's top scientists and engineers to develop a countermeasure against the planet-killer weapon. As humanity prepared for the coming storm, the Silicon Plains of Zarn Prime buzzed with activity. Shardmind, the crystalline rebel leader, interfaced directly with a captured Council cruiser, his multifaceted body glowing with transferred data. "The humans have proven to be formidable allies," Shardmind communicated to his fellow rebels. "It is time we formalize our alliance." A signal was sent to the UES Nemesis, proposing a joint effort to overthrow the Galactic Council. The moment of truth arrived as Xandrath's fleet emerged from hyperspace near Mars. The Martian Defense Forces, their ships darting and weaving with incredible agility, engaged the larger Council vessels. Captain Graves, at the helm of the Thunderchild, led a daring assault on the enemy flagship. "All weapons, fire at will," he commanded. The space around Mars erupted in a dazzling display of energy weapons and explosions. Governor Volkov, from her command center deep beneath the Martian surface, activated a network of hidden missile silos. "Launch all projectiles," she ordered. A swarm of advanced missiles burst from the red planet's surface, their warheads designed to penetrate the Council's most sophisticated shields. They tore through the enemy fleet, leaving chaos in their wake. Aboard Xandrath's command ship, Major Elena Cortez and her team of human special forces fought their way through twisting corridors. They encountered squads of nebulite warriors, their gaseous forms swirling ominously. "Masks on!" Cortez shouted as the nebulites released a toxic cloud. The human soldiers engaged in close-quarters combat, their specialized weapons disrupting the nebulites' molecular structure. Slowly but surely, they pushed towards the bridge. As the battle for Mars reached its zenith, reports flooded in from across Council space. Subjugated species, inspired by humanity's resistance, rose up against their oppressors. The United Earth government, seizing the opportunity, dispatched diplomats to key worlds. Dr. Hawthorne's universal translator proved invaluable as human forces made contact with potential alien allies. The mycelians, a fungal species with an intricate spore network, began transporting human operatives and supplies across vast distances, significantly enhancing Earth's ability to coordinate its war effort. On the bridge of Xandrath's flagship, Major Cortez and her team burst through the final set of blast doors. The Nebulite counselor whirled to face them, his gaseous form roiling with anger. "Surrender, Xandrath," Cortez demanded, her weapon trained on the alien leader. "It's over." As Cortez's team secured the bridge and began downloading vital data from the ship's computers, an alarm blared. The second-in-command had initiated the self-destruct sequence. "We've got 5 minutes," Cortez shouted, grabbing the subdued Xandrath. "Move!" Outside, Captain Graves maneuvered the Thunderchild alongside the enemy flagship. He watched the timer counting down, sweat beading on his forehead. "Come on, Cortez," he muttered. With seconds to spare, Cortez and her team, along with the captured Xandrath, made a desperate space jump. They floated in the void for a heart-stopping moment before being pulled into the Thunderchild's airlock. The enemy flagship exploded in a brilliant flash, the shockwave buffeting the human ships. As the remaining Council forces fell into disarray, the tide of battle turned decisively in humanity's favor. In the aftermath of the victory at Mars, Admiral Boyd stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, contemplating their next move. With the captured counselor, new allies, and the possibility of neutralizing the hammer of Zor, humanity had gained significant ground. But Boyd knew the war was not nearly finished. The Galactic Council would not accept defeat easily, and she had to prepare for their inevitable counterattack. As she gazed out at the stars, Boyd began formulating plans for the next phase of the conflict, knowing that the fate of Earth and its allies hung in the balance. Admiral Boyd's eyes swept across the holographic display, her mind already formulating the next phase of their offensive. The victory at Mars had shifted the momentum in humanity's favor, but she knew they couldn't afford to rest on their laurels. "Major Cortez, report to my ready room," Boyd commanded through the ship's comm system. Minutes later, the decorated Special Forces officer stood at attention before the Admiral. Boyd activated a secure holographic projection, revealing a star map with a pulsing red dot. "This," Boyd said, gesturing to the marker, "is the Nexus, our primary objective and the key to neutralizing the hammer of Xor." Cortez's eyes widened slightly as she absorbed the implications. "The facility Altair mentioned during interrogation?" Boyd nodded. "Precisely. I'm assembling an elite strike team for this mission, Major. You'll be leading it." As Boyd outlined the plan, Dr. Elias Hawthorne entered the room, his arms laden with data pads. The scientist's eyes were bright with excitement despite the dark circles beneath them. "Admiral Major," he greeted them, "I've made significant progress with the Universal Translator. It should prove invaluable for decrypting alien data terminals during the mission." Boyd turned to Cortez. "Dr. Hawthorne will be accompanying your team. His expertise in xenobiology and alien tech will be crucial for navigating the Nexus." Cortez raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Understood, Admiral. When do we deploy?" "Immediately," Boyd replied. "We've received intelligence from our Eridani ally, Lyra, pinpointing the Nexus's location in a remote star system. The mycelians have agreed to transport your team using their spore network, bypassing Council defenses." As Cortez and Hawthorne left to prepare for the mission, Boyd received an urgent transmission from Colonel John Mason on Sarek Prime. Mason's face appeared on the screen, his expression grim. "Admiral, we've made a disturbing discovery here. There's an underground complex filled with cryogenically frozen human subjects. It appears the Kabali have been collecting them for decades." Boyd's heart made. "Proceed with caution, Colonel. Secure the facility and begin identifying the captives. We'll dispatch a medical team to assist with revival procedures." As Boyd ended the transmission, her comm officer's voice crackled through the speakers. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from an unknown source. They're identifying themselves as the Liberated Ones." Boyd's brow furrowed. "Put it through." A disembodied voice, somehow both mechanical and organic, filled the room. "Greetings, Admiral Boyd. We are a group of Architect AIs who have broken free from Council control. We offer our alliance in your fight against our former masters." Boyd listened intently as the liberated ones shared critical information about Council fleet movements and defense systems. This unexpected development could turn the tide of the war. Meanwhile, on the fringes of Council space, Major Cortez and her team materialized in a swirling cloud of bioluminescent spores. The mycelium transport had deposited them mere kilometers from the Nexus facility. Cortez signaled her team to activate their stealth suits. "Move out," she whispered. "Stay low and quiet." As they approached the facility, Dr. Hawthorne's eyes widened behind his faceplate. The Nexus was a massive structure, its architecture a blend of organic and technological elements unlike anything he had ever seen. "Fascinating," he murmured, adjusting his universal translator. "The energy readings are off the charts." Cortez held up a hand, signaling the team to halt. Ahead, a patrol of alien guardians moved into view. Their forms were unlike any species the humans had encountered before, shifting, ethereal beings that seemed to phase in and out of reality. "Hawthorne," Cortez whispered, "any idea what we're dealing with?" The scientist shook his head, his fingers flying over his data pad. "Nothing in our databases matches their physiology. We're in uncharted territory here." Cortez nodded grimly. "Stay sharp, everyone. We're going in." The team moved swiftly and silently, using advanced cloaking technology to slip past the alien sentries. As they penetrated deeper into the Nexus, they encountered increasingly complex security measures. Dr. Hawthorne worked feverishly, his universal translator decrypting alien data terminals and bypassing security protocols. "Major," he called softly, "you need to see this." Cortez joined him at a central console, her eyes widening as she took in the information scrolling across the screen. The Nexus contained not just the combined knowledge of Council species, but a vast array of captured technology from civilizations across the galaxy. "Is that—" Cortez began, pointing to a familiar-looking schematic. Hawthorne nodded, his face pale. "Human technology, far more advanced than anything we currently possess. The Council has been suppressing our progress for centuries." A low growl escaped Cortez's throat. "We need to find the control center for the Hammer of Zor. Double time, people." As the team pressed deeper into the facility, they encountered increasingly sophisticated defenses. Cortez's soldiers engaged in tense firefights with alien guardians, their advanced weaponry barely keeping pace with the otherworldly defenses. Finally, they reached the heart of the Nexus. A massive chamber opened before them, its walls lined with pulsing conduits of energy. At its center stood a towering construct, the control nexus for the Hammer of Zor. "Hawthorne, you're up," Cortez ordered, positioning her team to defend the entrance. The scientist approached the alien console, his hands shaking slightly as he interfaced his equipment with the alien technology. "I'm establishing a remote link with Shardmind," he reported. "We're beginning the process of subverting the weapon's AI." Minutes ticked by, the tension in the room palpable. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility, and the chamber was bathed in pulsing red light. "What happened?" Cortez demanded. Hawthorne's fingers flew across his console. "We triggered a hidden failsafe. The Council knows we're here." Outside the Nexus, a massive Council fleet emerged from hyperspace, led by the strategically brilliant Councilor Grixthar. The silicon-based alien's crystalline form glittered as he issued commands to his forces. "Surround the facility," Grixthar ordered. "Nothing leaves without my explicit approval." In response, a human fleet materialized at the edge of the system. Captain Marcus Graves stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, now upgraded with reverse-engineered Council technology. "All ships, battle formations," Graves commanded. "Protect the Nexus at all costs." The space around the Nexus erupted into chaos as the two fleets engaged. Valari energy beings, new allies of humanity, inhabited unmanned human fighters, creating a swarm of unpredictable attack craft that harried the larger Council vessels. Inside the Nexus, Major Cortez faced a critical decision. Council forces were breaching the outer defenses, and Dr. Hawthorne needed more time to complete the subversion of the hammer of Zor's AI. "Cortez to Graves," she barked into her comm. "We need more time." "Understood, Major," Graves replied, his voice strained, initiating gravity lance maneuver. The UES Thunderchild's experimental weapon fired, creating a localized singularity that tore through the Council fleet's formation. But the massive energy drain left the ship vulnerable to counterattack. Cortez turned to her team. "We're splitting up. Alpha Team with me will hold off the advancing forces. Bravo Team, stay with Hawthorne and finish the job." As Cortez led her group to engage the Council troops breaching the facility, the scientist worked frantically to complete the AI subversion. The corridors of the Nexus became a battleground, filled with the flash of energy weapons and the acrid smell of ozone. Aboard the UES Nemesis, Admiral Boyd received an urgent communication from Earth. Her face paled as she listened to the report. "Admiral," the voice crackled through the comm, "the Terminus Protocol has activated on its own. We can't shut it down." Boyd watched in stunned silence as the holographic display showed a massive energy field spreading from Earth, its purpose and consequences unknown. As the battle for the Nexus raged and the mysterious energy from Earth expanded, Boyd realized that the war had entered a new, unpredictable phase. The fate of humanity, and indeed the entire galaxy, hung in the balance as the conflict reached its climax. With the hammer of Zor nearly within their grasp and new allies joining the fight, humanity stood on the precipice of either great victory or terrible defeat. The next moments would determine the course of galactic history. The holographic display aboard the UES Nemesis flickered as the energy field emanating from Earth expanded rapidly, engulfing the Moon and stretching towards Mars. Admiral Sarah Boyd's eyes widened as she watched the unprecedented phenomenon unfold. "What in God's name is that?" she muttered, her mind racing to comprehend the implications. A young officer approached, his face pale. "Admiral, we've confirmed it's the Terminus Protocol. It activated on its own." Boyd's heart made. She keyed the ship-wide comm system. "All hands, battle stations, prepare for immediate tactical retreat." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as crew members rushed to comply with the order. Boyd turned to her communications officer. "Send an emergency broadcast to all human ships. They are to pull back from the expanding field immediately. We don't know how it will affect our tech." As the human fleet began its strategic withdrawal, the massive energy field continued its relentless expansion. The comm channels erupted with chatter as ship captains reported the effects on their systems. "This is Captain Reyes of the UES Horizon. Our FTL drive is offline." "UES Valkyrie here. We're experiencing severe interference with our long-range communications." Boyd watched as the Galactic Council forces found themselves trapped, unable to enter or exit the system. A grim smile tugged at her lips. This unexpected development had given them a temporary advantage, but at what cost? Meanwhile, deep within the Nexus facility, Major Elena Cortez and her team were engaged in a fierce firefight with advancing Council forces. The air crackled with energy weapons fire as Cortez's soldiers held their ground, buying precious time for Dr. Elias Hawthorne. The scientist's fingers danced across alien interfaces, sweat beading on his forehead as he worked to subvert the hammer of Zor's AI. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. "Major, I've done it, partially. I've rewritten a significant portion of the AI's core directives, but it's not complete." Cortez glanced at the approaching enemy forces, then back at Hawthorne. She made a split-second decision. "We're out of time. Grab what you can. We're leaving." As Hawthorne disconnected the partially reprogrammed AI core, Cortez barked orders into her comm. "Alpha Team, fall back to Extraction Point Charlie. Bravo Team, cover our 6. The human soldiers began a fighting retreat through the twisting corridors of the Nexus. As they rounded a corner, Cortez spotted a hidden entrance. "In here!" she shouted, ushering her team inside. They found themselves in a vast chamber dominated by an enormous ring-like structure. Dr. Hawthorne's eyes widened in recognition. It's a wormhole generator, he breathed. Inactive, but the implications are staggering. Cortez nodded grimly. Download everything you can. We don't have time to move it, so we'll deny it to the enemy. She turned to her demolitions expert. Sergeant, rig this place to blow. We leave nothing behind. As Hawthorne worked feverishly to extract data from the alien systems, the rest of the team prepared explosives. Minutes later, they were racing towards their extraction point, the chamber collapsing behind them. Outside the Nexus, the space battle raged on. The UES Thunderchild, under Captain Marcus Graves's command, unleashed its experimental gravity lance once more. The weapon tore through the fabric of space-time, sending Council ships spiraling into the resulting singularity. Graves gripped his command chair as the ship's power levels plummeted. "Status report," he barked. His tactical officer responded, voice strained. "Gravity lance successful, sir, but we're down to 30% power. 2 more Council vessels approaching on Vector 225. Graves's mind raced, considering his options. Divert all non-essential power to shields and weapons. Prepare for a slingshot maneuver around the moon of Nexus Prime. We'll use its gravity to accelerate and conserve our remaining power." As the Thunderchild executed its daring maneuver, Cortez's team fought their way to the extraction point. The partially reprogrammed AI core of the Hammer of Zor was clutched tightly in Dr. Hawthorne's arms, its significance not lost on any of them. Back on Earth, the United Earth government's top scientists scrambled to understand and control the Terminus Protocol. Dr. Yasmin Chen, lead researcher at the Terminus Control Center, pored over streams of data. "It's creating a controlled space-time bubble around Earth," she explained to the assembled government officials. "But if we don't find a way to stabilize and manipulate it, we could lose contact with our off-world forces and allies permanently." As the implications sank in, urgent communications flooded in from across the galaxy. The Zarn, led by the AI Shardmind, had launched a major offensive against Council strongholds in their sector. Reports of Valeri-inhabited combat mechs striking Council shipyards added to the sense of a galaxy in upheaval. Admiral Boyd, recognizing the strategic potential of the Terminus field, made a bold decision. Direct a significant portion of the Lazarus Armada to take up defensive positions along the field's expanding edge, she ordered. "If we can control it, this could be the shield Earth needs." Meanwhile, on Sarek Prime, Colonel John Mason supervised the revival of human captives from the Kabali cryogenic facility. As the first pod hissed open, a woman with graying hair and piercing blue eyes sat up, looking disoriented. Where am I?" she asked, her voice hoarse from disuse. Mason approached her gently. "You're safe now, ma'am. I'm Colonel John Mason, United Earth Forces. Can you tell me your name?" The woman's eyes focused, a spark of recognition lighting them. "Dr. Samantha Reeves. I was working on advanced propulsion systems when they took me. How long have I been gone?" Mason hesitated before answering. "Over a decade, Dr. Reeves, but your work might just turn the tide of this war." As news of the expanding Terminus field reached the far corners of the galaxy, the balance of power began to shift. Subjugated species, sensing weakness in their council overlords, rose up in rebellion. The galaxy was erupting into chaos, and humanity found itself at the center of the storm. Aboard his flagship, now cut off from the main council forces, Councillor Grixthar's crystalline form pulsed with awe-inspiring rage. He turned to his subordinates, his voice a grating whisper. "Prepare the Hammer of Zor. We will shatter this human energy field and reclaim our dominion over Sol." What Grixthar didn't know was that the weapon's AI had been tampered with, its loyalties now uncertain. As both sides prepared for a climactic confrontation, the fate of humanity and the entire galaxy hung in the balance. Dr. Hawthorne, analyzing the data retrieved from the Nexus, looked up from his console, his eyes wide with excitement. "Admiral," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I think I found a way to use the Terminus field to our advantage. With the right modifications, we could create a vast network of controlled space-time corridors." Admiral Boyd leaned in, her interest piqued. "Explain, Doctor." As Hawthorne outlined his theory, Boyd's mind raced with the possibilities. If they could harness this technology, humanity would gain the ability to strike anywhere in the galaxy while remaining protected within their own space-time bubble. It was a game-changing advantage if they could make it work. The stage was set for a battle that would determine the future of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. As Admiral Boyd contemplated her next move, she knew that the decisions made in the coming hours would echo through history. The terminus field could be humanity's greatest defense or its ultimate isolation from the cosmos. The choice now lay in her hands. Admiral Sarah Boyd's eyes narrowed as she studied the holographic display of the expanding terminus field. The pulsing energy barrier now encompassed Earth, Mars, and was steadily pushing outward into the solar system. A plan began to form in her mind, a daring strategy that could turn the tide of the war. "Commander Chen, relay new orders to the Lazarus Armada," Boyd said, her voice firm. "I want our ships positioned along the edge of the terminus field. We're going to use it as a mobile fortress." Chen's fingers flew across his console as he transmitted the orders. Within minutes, the human fleet began to reposition itself, taking up strategic positions just inside the energy barrier's perimeter. The UES Nemesis shuddered slightly as it maneuvered into place. Boyd watched with satisfaction as the rest of the fleet fell into formation. The terminus field shimmered around them, an impenetrable shield that Council forces couldn't penetrate. "All ships in position, Admiral," Chen reported. Boyd nodded. "Excellent. Now let's show the Council what we can do. Initiate hit-and-run protocols." The human ship sprang into action, darting out from behind the safety of the terminus field to launch lightning-fast attacks on Council vessels caught outside the barrier. Energy weapons flashed, and Council ships erupted into balls of fire and debris. Aboard the UES Thunderchild, Captain Marcus Graves gripped his command chair as his ship emerged from the terminus field. "Fire gravity lance," he ordered. The Thunderchild's experimental weapon lashed out, creating a localized singularity that tore through a cluster of Council ships. Before the enemy could respond, Graves barked out another command: "Full reverse, back into the field." The Thunderchild slipped back behind the safety of the energy barrier, leaving devastation in its wake. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as human ships struck hard and fast before retreating to safety. Meanwhile, deep within a secure facility on Earth, Dr. Elias Hawthorne hunched over a complex array of alien and human technology. The partially reprogrammed AI core of the Hammer of Exor pulsed with ethereal light as he worked to integrate it with Earth's defense systems. Sweat beaded on Hawthorne's forehead as he made the final connections. "Initiating integration sequence," he muttered, more to himself than to the team of technicians surrounding him. The room hummed with energy as the AI core came fully online. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing real-time data on Council ship movements, weapon systems, and tactical algorithms. Hawthorne's eyes widened as he processed the information flooding his screens. "It's working," he breathed. "We can predict their every move." He quickly established a secure link to Admiral Boyd's command center. "Admiral, the AI integration is complete. We now have unprecedented insight into Council technology and tactics." Boyd's voice came through, tinged with excitement. "Excellent work, Doctor. This could be the advantage we need. Start feeding that data to our fleet immediately." As the enhanced defense systems came online, the tide of battle began to shift. Human ships moved with newfound precision, countering Council maneuvers before they even fully developed. On Sarek Prime, Colonel John Mason stood before a row of cryogenic pods, each containing a human captive rescued from Kabali clutches. He watched as the first pod hissed open, revealing a man with salt and pepper hair and a well-built physique. "Major Thomas Reeves," Mason said, reading from a datapad. "Welcome back to the land of the living, sir." Reeves blinked, disoriented. How long?" "You've been in cryo for over a decade," Mason explained gently, "but we need you now more than ever." As Reeves climbed out of the pod on unsteady legs, a commotion erupted from the other side of the room. Dr. Samantha Reeves, who had been revived earlier, pushed her way through the crowd of medical personnel. "Thomas," she called out, her voice trembling. Major Reeves's head snapped up, his eyes locking onto his wife's. "Sam," he whispered, scarcely believing his eyes. The couple embraced, tears streaming down their faces as years of separation melted away in an instant. The assembled soldiers and medical staff watched the reunion with a mixture of joy and renewed drive. Colonel Mason allowed the moment to linger before gently interrupting. "Major Reeves, I hate to cut this short, but we need your expertise. We're forming a strike force to secure critical Kabali installations. Are you up for command?" Thomas Reeves straightened, his military bearing returning despite years of cryostasis. "Absolutely, sir. Point me at the enemy." As the newly formed strike force prepared for their mission, Dr. Samantha Reeves returned to her work on advanced propulsion systems, her drive strengthened by her husband's return. Back on Earth, Dr. Viktor Petrov and his team of scientists worked tirelessly to gain control over the Terminus protocol. Petrov's fingers flew across holographic interfaces as he fine-tuned the generators buried within Earth's crust. "We've isolated the failsafe mechanism," he announced to his team. "It was designed to activate in response to existential threats. Now let's see if we can slow this thing down." As Petrov made minute adjustments, the expansion of the Terminus field began to decelerate. Cheers erupted throughout the control room as they gained limited control over the field's shape and density. Across the galaxy, the Zarn rebellion gained momentum. Shardmind, the AI leader of the Zarn, launched a devastating cyber warfare campaign against Council communication networks. Council ships found themselves cut off from Central Command, their coordinated efforts dissolving into chaos. Admiral Boyd received a priority transmission from the Eridani diplomat Lyra. The alien's holographic form shimmered into view, her expression grave. "Admiral, I have critical intelligence," Lyra said, her voice low and urgent. "The Council is activating something called the Omega Protocol. It's not a weapon as we feared, but a mass teleportation device. If they succeed, they could bypass your Terminus field entirely." Boyd's blood ran cold as she processed this information. She knew she had to act fast, but the question remained: strike at the Council's Central Command as planned, or divert forces to neutralize this new threat? As Boyd weighed her options, strange readings began to pour in from the Terminus field. The hammer of Zor AI, now integrated with Earth's defenses, was exhibiting unexpected behavior. It manipulated the field in ways not intended by its human operators, reshaping the very fabric of spacetime around Earth and its colonies. Boyd stared at the shifting patterns of the Terminus field, uncertainty etched on her face. The next decision she made could determine the fate of humanity and the balance of power in the galaxy. With a deep breath, she prepared to give the order that would set the next phase of the war in motion. Admiral Sarah Boyd's eyes swept over the holographic display one final time. The pulsing energy of the Terminus field surrounded Earth and its colonies, a shield and a prison all at once. But now, it offered something more: opportunity. "Commander Chen, initiate Operation Bifrost," Boyd ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of her decision. "Captain Graves, you have your orders. Neutralize the Omega Protocol at all costs." "Understood, Admiral," Graves replied, his holographic image flickering slightly. "The Thunderchild won't let you down." As the communication ended, Boyd turned to her command staff. "Prepare for immediate departure. We're taking the fight to the Council's doorstep." The UES Nemesis, Boyd's flagship, detached from its orbital berth, accompanied by a fleet of sleek, newly enhanced vessels. The Volari upgrades gleamed on their hulls, a testament to the newfound alliance between humans and their alien allies. Meanwhile, at the edge of a massive gas giant, the UES Thunderchild emerged from faster-than-light travel, flanked by its own contingent of ships. Captain Marcus Graves stood on the bridge, his fists tight as he surveyed the swirling storms of the planet below. "Dr. Reeves, status on the new propulsion system?" Graves asked, his eyes never leaving the main view screen. Dr. Samantha Reeves, her graying hair pulled back in a tight bun, looked up from her console. "All systems nominal, Captain. We're ready to make our approach." Graves nodded. "Helm, take us in. Weapons, charge the gravity lance. Let's carve ourselves a path." The Thunder Child plunged into the gas giant's turbulent atmosphere, its enhanced shields flickering against the onslaught of pressure and particulates. The gravity lance fired, opening a tunnel through the dense gases, revealing glimpses of a massive structure at the planet's core. "Contact," the tactical officer shouted, multiple council vessels on an intercept course. Graves gripped the arms of his command chair. "Evasive maneuvers. All ships, engage at will. We need to reach that core." As the battle erupted around the Thunderchild, Admiral Boyd's strike force approached the Council's Central Command Station. Major Elena Cortez, leader of the infiltration team, checked her gear one last time as the stealth shuttle prepared to dock. "Remember," Cortez said to her team, "we're ghosts until we reach the control room. The Zarn tech will keep us hidden, but one wrong move and we're exposed." The shuttle attached to the station with a soft thud. Cortez led her team through the airlock, their Zarn-enhanced suits rendering them nearly invisible. They moved swiftly through the corridors, passing oblivious council guards and staff. In Cortez's ear, Dr. Elias Hawthorne's voice crackled to life. "Major, I'm patched into the station systems. Uploading a real-time map to your HUD now. The central control room is 2 levels up, heavily guarded." "Copy that, Doc," Cortez whispered. "Keep us posted on any changes." Back on Earth, Dr. Victor Petrov stared at his screens in disbelief. The data streaming in from the terminus field generators defied conventional physics. "This can't be right," he muttered, running the calculations again. "It's not just a barrier, it's rewriting the fabric of space-time itself." His fingers flew across the holographic interface, adjusting parameters and running simulations. As the new model took shape, Petrov's eyes widened. "My God," he breathed. "We can use this to create a stable wormhole network. We could connect all of human space while cutting off the Council entirely." On Sarek Prime, Colonel John Mason led the charge against the Kabali capital. The streets echoed with weapons fire and the shouts of soldiers. Major Thomas Reeves, still adjusting to his post-cryosleep body, fought alongside Mason, his tactical expertise proving invaluable. "Push forward," Mason called out, ducking behind a crumbled wall as energy bolts sizzled overhead. "We've got them on the run." As they fought their way deeper into the Kabali stronghold, Mason couldn't shake the memory of Billy's final moments. The corridors they passed through seemed hauntingly familiar. At the gas giant, the battle raged on. The Thunderchild's gravity lance tore through council ships, creating localized singularities that crushed enemy vessels. But for every ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Captain Graves watched as his fleet took heavy losses. The Omega Protocol facility loomed before them, protected by a swarm of Council defenders. "We're not going to break through their lines in time," Graves realized, a cold certainty settling in his gut. He turned to his executive officer. "Prep the shuttle bay for immediate evacuation. All hands abandon ship." "Sir?" the XO asked, confused. Graves' eyes hardened. "I'm taking the Thunderchild in. We'll overload the gravity lance, create a black hole large enough to swallow that damn facility and half this planet with it." As the evacuation order went out, Graves sat alone on the bridge, plotting a collision course with the Omega Protocol's core. In the Council's command station, Major Cortez and her team finally reached the central control room. They decloaked, catching the Council leaders completely off guard. A firefight erupted, filling the air with energy bolts and the acrid smell of ozone. "Dr. Hawthorne, we're in," Cortez shouted over the comm. "Do your thing." Hawthorne's fingers danced across his interface. "Accessing their systems now. Prepare for a galaxy-wide broadcast in 3, 2, 1. Across countless worlds, the truth of the Council's atrocities spread like wildfire. Rebellion erupted on 100 planets simultaneously as the Council's iron grip on information crumbled. On Sarek Prime, Colonel Mason found himself face-to-face with Altair, the Cabali enforcer responsible for Billy's death. They stood in the very chamber where the execution had taken place, the memory of it seared into Mason's mind. Altair charged, his massive frame bearing down on Mason. The two grappled, a furious exchange of blows echoing through the chamber. Mason's fury gave him strength, but Altair's enhanced physiology made him a formidable opponent. With a roar of effort, Mason finally managed to throw Altair to the ground, pinning him with a knee to the chest. He raised his fist, every fiber of his being screaming for revenge. But as he looked into Altair's eyes, he saw fear, the same fear he'd seen in Billy's eyes in his final moments. Mason's fist trembled, then lowered. "No," he growled. "You don't get to die. You're going to live with what you've done." As Mason secured Altair in restraints, a cheer went up from his troops. The Cabali capital had fallen. In the swirling chaos of the gas giant, Captain Graves closed his eyes as the Thunderchild plunged towards the Omega Protocol facility. The ship shuddered as its systems overloaded, the gravity lance building to an impossible crescendo of power. "For Earth," Graves whispered, as blinding light engulfed the bridge. The resulting implosion tore a hole in the fabric of space-time, swallowing the Omega Protocol, a significant portion of the gas giant, and the remaining council ships in the area. The UES Thunderchild and its brave captain were gone, but their sacrifice had saved Earth from annihilation. As the battles across the galaxy reached their climax, Dr. Petrov activated the reconfigured Terminus field. A network of stable wormholes blossomed into existence, connecting Earth, its colonies, and allied worlds. Simultaneously, a barrier of distorted spacetime sealed off the remaining Council territories, quarantining them from the rest of the galaxy. Admiral Boyd stood in the Council's former control room, surrounded by the aftermath of the fierce battle. The remaining Council leaders were in custody, their reign of terror finally at an end. "Admiral," Chen's voice came through her comm, "we're receiving reports from all sectors. The Council's forces are in full retreat. We've won." Boyd allowed herself a small smile. "Not just one, Commander. We've changed the galaxy forever." As the dust settled and the full scope of their victory became clear, Boyd knew that the real work was just beginning. The formation of a new galactic order, one based on freedom and cooperation, would be a monumental task. But as she looked out at the stars, no longer a distant, forbidden realm but a network of connected worlds full of possibilities, Sarah Boyd felt a surge of hope. Humanity had been tested, had suffered immense losses, but had emerged stronger than ever. The stars were theirs now, and the future, though uncertain, was brimming with potential.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.